The Rainbow Tower. Written by Alex Tymms. Illustrated by R H Stewart. Episode 39. Red. "You really thought you could escape me?" Swenson said, stepping into the lab. He was flanked by men who were clearly enforcers, but who'd swapped their white robes for different coloured overalls and dark sunglasses. "I've been doing some research," Swenson went on as he moved towards Jed and Katie. "Trying to find out what you are up to has been very difficult. It's obvious you had a plan, but what?" "Well, now I know. That bridge confirmed everything I suspected." Jed looked at the chief executive. Did this mean he now knew about the mass? Could they begin working together to evacuate everyone? "Mergers and acquisitions. That's what you've been doing, isn't it?" The man had a gleam of triumph in his eye. Behind Swenson, yet more enforcers filed in. Jed looked from them to their boss, not understanding what was going on. "Your little dispute was all to force people to move, and once you had them with you, you could carry out the next stage, a takeover. You've had your eye on that next door tower all along. That's what all this has been about, isn't it? It's not enough for you to have this tower. You wanted to have the other one as well." Jed stared at the man. He didn't know what to say. "It's very clever," Swenson went on, nodding. "Just like your mother. She was as devious an operator as you are. Shame it all has to end here." The enforcers had all come in. The section of the lab behind Swenson was heaving with men. "I brought them all, just to make sure this time neither of you escape." "I like your thinking," Swenson said. "Mergers and acquisitions, yes, I can see myself in that role. When I have these 2 towers, I shall keep going, adding more." He then stared at Jed and Katie. "But you 2 won't be there to get in the way. I won't have my lifetime of planning ruined by upstarts like you." As the enforcers advanced, Jed and Katie took steps back, retreating behind the vat. They were trapped. The only possible way out was the waste chutes, but they would send them straight to the mass. Beside him, Katie powered up the backpack. Jed didn't want to think what that growth liquid might do to living flesh, but it looked like they had no choice. "You're mad," Jed called to Swenson. "Can't you see this place is finished? As for the other tower, it's a ruined shell. There's nothing to take over. All I've ever wanted is to save everyone from the mass beneath." "There is no mass, monster, blob, whatever you call it," Swenson screamed. The chief executive showed his ugly and brutish true self, discarding the civilized suit he pretended to be. "Enough of your lies!" At that moment, Jed caught a whiff of a familiar rancid smell. He groaned. "What?" Katie hissed beside him. "It's here," Jed replied quietly. Swenson raised his arm. "Get them!" he commanded, and as he dropped his arm, the whole of the lab wall behind him disintegrated. The chief executive whirled round. Rooted to the spot, he stared wide-eyed at the heaving apparition that had burst through the concrete and plaster. Jed too stared, for at the front of the mass was someone he had never expected to see again. It was Trevor. He looked like a corruption of a centaur, his torso sticking out of the surface of the churning waste as he towered over Swenson and his men. "I believe you weren't expecting me," Trevor shouted. and before Swenson could move, the mass and Trevor dropped on the suited man. As it did so, a wave of waste rolled out to envelop the now panicked enforcers. "No!" Jed yelled, but it was too late. Trevor swept forward, demolishing the lab, the men, and crashing down on the half-full vat of bile liquid. "I felt you," Trevor panted, wrestling with the mass beneath him. "Through the building. It told me where to find you, that you needed help." He was smiling through the disgusting mucus covering him. "Bits of it could be controlled," he said, pulling some back into line. "But you have to leave. The main body's in orange. There's no way I can influence that." Jed walked forward. But what about you?" Trevor laughed. "Oh, don't worry about me. I've survived this long." As Trevor spoke, a yellow-brown stain began to rise from the bottom of the waste. Jed watched it spread in alarm. "Trevor, look out! That stuff!" The smile disappeared from Trevor's face as the churning beneath him became more unruly and violent. "No!" he said as it writhed beneath him. "No!" But it was clear he was losing. The stain was rising at an alarming rate. Trevor suddenly shot backwards. "Run!" he yelled. "I can't control it!" He made to grab hold of the side of the wall opening, but was whipped away. "Run!" he shouted as he was hauled down the corridor, the mass now the livid colour of liquid in the vat. "Come on!" Katie grabbed Jed's arm and wrenched him through the shattered wall. She steered him the opposite way from where Trevor had gone, and they began to run. Jed felt dazed, as if the feet pounding beneath him belonged to someone else. Trevor hadn't given up. He was still fighting. All that anger Jed had felt towards him had been wrong. Jed shot a glance back down the dark corridor behind him. No matter if they fixed the bridge, no matter how many people they succeeded in saving, he would still feel he had failed. Failed to save Trevor and failed to save his father. Thank you very much for listening to The Rainbow Tower. To see more of R H Stewart's excellent artwork, you'll find him on Instagram at roy.hootson.stewart. For Alex Tymms, why not try the novel OutCaste at ao3.com? Or, for something completely different, check out the Amier series on YouTube or at amier.com, also by Alex Tymms. The Rainbow Tower. Text copyright Alex Tymms. Illustrations copyright R H Stewart. The right of Alex Tymms and R H Stewart to be identified as the author and illustrator of this work has been asserted in accordance with the Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1988.